What's up, guys, and welcome to Scourge of War Waterloo, episode 31, part 2. We are continuing here with our Battle of Ligny as the Prussians. This is the Old Fox Fights Back. That's the name of the scenario. And we're about an hour in. In the last episode, we basically spent most of the scenario setting up our defenses at Saint Armand, Saint Armand La Haye, and Wagnally, as well as the village of Ligny. The French probed us with a two-division attack on the Saint Armand area, and they sent Pachot's division of Girard's Corps forward at Ligny and are currently engaged fighting the fighting the castle at Ligny, and that's pretty much where we're at. I did the whole strategy kind of breakdown at the beginning of the episode of part one of this episode, so I'm not going to go into all that again. We're just going to continue covering the scenario. I may refer back to things that we talked about in the strategy session of part one. But I'm not going to go into the whole thing again because I already covered it in part one. So let's get going here. All right, so we are again at 15:30. We're an hour into the scenario, and let's see what's going on here. So we're over here at Saint Armand La Haye, and we're basically just establishing the fortress here for when the next division comes forward and attacks in this area. And I'm just putting a couple of lines out front. I've got some skirmishers out front to turn their guns around when they come forward. You can see a little bit of French artillery out there. This is Tippelspurch's division that we brought down from the Namur Road and set them up, and they're basically going to engage the French cavalry as well as Duret's division of Durland's Corps when they get here. And I'm just, being that I know cavalry is what I'm going to be engaging over here, I'm just setting up squares ahead of time. I already know it's going to be cavalry coming down on this side of things. So all I'm doing is setting up some squares in front of the guns, and basically just blocking off this side of the river. You can see the guns out there on those are the guns of the French cavalry. They're not coming forward yet, but I'm just getting ready for them to. And you can see our line is pretty sturdy all the way from Wagnally to Saint Armand. We have had some French, some battles over here. The French have pushed forward and attacked us, but we've largely repulsed them and reestablished our lines. Lafol's division has been cut up pretty badly by a lot of skirmisher units that we had out here. Most of those skirmisher units now, however, are either very tired or out of ammo or both. So very shortly we're going to need to start giving up that forward area. We actually held it for a very long time, much longer than I usually hold it for. But they were doing so good that I just left them there. Over here, we briefly lost control of the objective when the French moved in and attacked us over here, but we've largely pushed them back out. We've reestablished our line over here and recaptured the objective. And just breaking off some more skirmishers here just to screen this line. You can see all our skirmishers are back up, and we've kind of reestablished our main line over here. The French have pulled back to just outside of the town. They're not by any means destroyed, but they're probably just regrouping their morale and their fatigue to make another try later on. Like I said, it's a very long battle, so units can engage, fall back, recoup, and then come forward again. So we've got almost all of Pachot's division tied up at the fort here. However, as you can see, because of that, our units are not getting the best of it. The fort is surrounded on the three sides, basically. They've got artillery bombarding the castle. So we are not going to hold that position for very long, but it's doing a good job of at least stopping up Peugeot's division, making him engage, making him lose men, and not really trying to push into the town. As you can see, he's got at least a whole brigade in position firing at us. We're trying to reinforce this position as best we can with maybe a few skirmishers, but like I said, we don't want to strengthen this position too much because ultimately we will give it up. So one battalion has fallen back there. So now the fort's only being fired on basically by kind of two sides. But the French have made no attempt at the town itself yet. So here's Blucher. So far we have 3,500 points, and we need, what did I say, 19,000 for a major victory. So still a long way to go, but we're only 1 hour into the battle, and it's 7 hours long. Like I said, you do not need to win this battle in the first hour. Got to plan ahead. All right, you can see in the last episode I had started to draw back some of my secondary line of artillery. And I'm basically deploying them kind of along this road, and I'll have them kind of curve it around behind Ligny and bring up troops and cavalry to set up a series of fortresses and horsey forts. And the whole point of that is when we finally do withdraw from Ligny, when the town becomes outflanked, we have a nice, safe, strong position to fall back on, that it will be virtually unassailable by the French. Now, the idea here is that this won't have to happen until we've, much later in the battle, when we've already collected enough points from the objective, when we've collected enough points from inflicting casualties, and we're pretty close to what we need to for a major victory, and then we can start pulling our troops back to a safer position where they won't get surrounded and outflanked and wrecked. So here comes Gerard's division of Van Damme's corps, and he's marching right up to our skirmishers. That is exactly what we wanted. We'll use the skirmishers to turn their artillery around so they can't bring it to bear against us. The old trick that we've been using on the French since the beginning of the scenario here. And I'm just tightening up this fortress here so that any cavalry that approaches can't possibly charge between the squares and get to the guns. So I'm making sure that the squares are close enough that their zones of control basically overlap and the cavalry can't charge through them. Now here I'm not using squares, I'm just using line infantry because I know it's only line infantry coming at this part of the line. So I'm just setting up the same kind of idea with the fortress, just instead of using squares I'm using line infantry and screening them with skirmishers, so that I can bring maximum firepower to bear with both the line infantry as well as the artillery and the skirmishers. So we've stopped Gerard's division. They're now deploying and moving out to engage our skirmishers. Over here, we've really kicked the crap out of Lafol's division. Still a couple of battalions left. They've shifted over to the right a bit. We've still got some skirmisher units engaged, but like I said, a lot of them are very, very tired. They're either out of ammo or almost out of ammo. Yeah, these guys are all out of ammo. So they're not doing any good out there. They're just holding up. They're just basically standing there getting shot at. But they're still holding up the French. All right, so we've now turned the guns around. They've moved behind the infantry. The infantry has deployed skirmishers now to come after our skirmishers, and we're not heroes here. We're not here to stop this entire French division with just 2 skirmisher units. We were just here to force them to go online and force them to deploy, and we succeeded in doing that, and we can begin backing up now. And I'm concentrating all my cavalry kind of on the left of Tippelsperch's division and the right of the fortress at St. Armand-la-Haye, just in case I get any opportunities to charge, to take out guns, to take out infantry, kind of whatever I can come within range of my cavalry. However, I want to keep my cavalry away from the French cavalry, because I really just don't like to get in cavalry on cavalry attacks if I don't have to. To me, it's largely a waste. It's one side or the other is going to win, and it's just not the way I tactically like to use cavalry. I would much rather defend against enemy cavalry with artillery and infantry in squares. As a last resort, if I have nothing left to use but cavalry, I would certainly use it. But I tend to like to save my cavalry either to use as a threat to force enemy units into square to give me the advantage, or to take enemy guns, or to run enemy units off if I can. But generally speaking, I try not to get in cavalry on cavalry combat because I just don't see the point. I don't necessarily see the advantage it gives me. I'm using my cavalry to run off its cavalry, the enemy's cavalry, or they're using their cavalry to run off my cavalry. But just tactically, it's not the way I like to use cavalry. I just think that the way I use cavalry is a better use of it. It protects it in that I only use it as a threat, or I only use it when I have a clear advantage to run enemy units off or capture guns or something like that, rather than kind of the coin flip you're going to get by meleeing enemy cavalry with your own cavalry. Sometimes that can work for you, sometimes that can work against you, but it's more of a coin flip as to whether you're going to get the better of that or not. So yeah, these skirmishers are pretty much in trouble. They're all out of ammo at this point. They're just getting shot at, and the only reason I still have them out there is they're just keeping the French infantry from advancing. But that's kind of the only reason I still have them out there. And I stuck a skirmisher unit way out in front over here. And those guys are to turn around any artillery that comes within range of my squares before they have a chance to unlimber. And hopefully we can turn them around. Because squares will get pounded on by artillery, even if they deploy at a medium range. They take a beating from artillery, even if it's not canister fire over time. So we're still backing up our skirmishers, and we're just retreating them at this point. They've done their job. They've turned the guns around. There's no reason for them to stay out there and get whacked by this French division. So we've concentrated our cavalry in the center of our defense between Ligny and St. Armand. We've got about 5 squadrons, and like I said, I deployed them over here to keep them away from the French cavalry, so that I can use them for other stuff rather than just engaging in cavalry on cavalry combat, which, as I stated, I'm not really a fan of of using my cavalry for. I'd rather defend against enemy cavalry with squares and artillery than I would just engaging in the coin flip that is cavalry on cavalry combat. So we're still holding on to this castle here. Well, we're doing a little better now. Now that we're not getting shot at on all three sides, we're actually able to inflict some casualties. So, but once again, they're moving to surround all the areas of the castle, or all three sides of it. At that point, you know, we probably will go back to not really getting the best of it, and you know, hey, that's part of fort fighting here, is that if you get surrounded on more than 2 or 3 sides, you're probably going to get shot out of there. But as I said, in this case, we're mostly using it to just delay the French and you know, kind of force them to engage at the castle instead of coming into the town, because the town is really where the objective is. That's where the money is. So here we're over at Tongrenelle, and like I said, I'm just bouncing around, checking out different areas. There's nothing happening here yet. I did bring an artillery battery up, and I will establish a defense here, because I do know that Hulot's division will come up this road here, which is why I established this gun line right here. And I'm going to take this infantry, put it here. We'll put these guys here and these guys here, and basically set up a fortress to meet Hulot as he comes up. There's also a whole bunch of French cavalry out here. We have some cavalry here. And in this open area to the left of the road, we'll start setting up our defense. But we have time to do that. So we're again back at Saint Armand. These guys must be terrible shots, these French. They are, even without having ammo, they're not really killing a lot of us. However, these guys are just going to rout soon because their morale is down to shaken. They're out of ammo, so they're just going to run away. But it's just a skirmisher unit, so you know, I don't really care. So again, we're just pulling our skirmishers back, drawing the French, and I'm purposely pulling them back towards my fortress and towards the cannon, because I want that division to follow me. I want them to come right through these woods and run headlong into this fortress. So I am quite purposely leading them back to down to the right here, because they're running. There's a fortress here. There's cavalry here. We can really give them a nice hot greeting if they get close enough. So I am, of course, purposely trying to lead them that way. But the main thing is you can see how far back their artillery has deployed now. All the way back here. They're absolutely useless back here. They can't do anything against us from all the way back there. They're no threat to us, which is ultimately what we wanted to do. So, so their artillery cannot pose any threat to us. So it looks like they took another stab at this area here, but our skirmishers repulsed them, and they're moving back out. And this is why I do these things, where I put skirmishers in front of my main lines and so forth, because if I'm not around, you know, even if they get attacked, even if they get charged, it's still more than likely, you know, my position will hold until I can get there to see what's going on, because they'll charge the skirmishers, and they'll get fired on by the line unit while they're reforming, then they'll form line, and we'll have a little shootout, and then, you know, my units are bigger than their units, and they'll likely fall back. You know, so I'm comfortable leaving any one of these positions alone for a couple of minutes at a time. Here I'm just refilling the artillery's ammo, of course. wherever I can fit them. There we go. Alright, so we have another French division coming down here. You can see this looks to be at least a brigade moving down to support LaFoll's division. And that's largely going to be the end of my skirmisher line. Let's again... well, we got one unit routed. Probably out of the castle. I meant to close the map there. That happens sometimes. So, yep, we have lost one unit. They've routed out of the castle. Really, I'm just moving this unit around to try and get it out of the line of fire. We'll let the skirmisher line out front there handle everything. That's a pretty good skirmisher line. They're covering the whole back end of the fort area. And then the fort is kind of the salient out in front. We've only got one unit out there right now. It looks like we're going to send another unit into the castle. And move one of these reserve units up to take its position. And like I said, the castle does a good job of delaying and causing damage to Peugeot's division, but it's not going to hold forever. There's just too many units out here firing at it. You know, so I'm sending one more unit in to see if we can hold on to it a little longer, but, you know, I know we're not really going to hold on to it forever. And this unit has taken 36 casualties just standing here. So I'm going to try and lie them down and see if that helps. Obviously some battery has found range on that unit and has dropped 36 men from that unit. So all I'm doing is checking all these other units and seeing if anybody else has found range on them and making sure they're not taking them off. Alrighty, so we've done a good job of enticing the French to follow us here at Saint-Armand-la-Haye. They're now in the woods. Our skirmishers have engaged them. They're not quite in canister range yet, but they are coming forward. And all we have to do is keep leading them here, keep leading them down. And I'm pulling my skirmish units basically right back towards the artillery, hoping the French will follow us. And this is the other skirmisher unit that was out front. They've retreated all the way back by the guns. We're going to send them out just to screen the cavalry in case anyone wants to start shooting at them. And I'm just sidestepping this unit a little bit, just to bring more of their firepower to bear. So the French are leading with skirmishers. That's how I do it. Let's see what's going on over here. So, as you can see, a lot of troops are now filing into this area down here where all we have is a skirmisher line, so this is not going to last. There's just way too many troops coming in. And I don't really have any ammo. My troops are exhausted. Their morale is taking a big hit. I mean, a strong wind would push that skirmisher line over right now. And really, at this point, I've just decided to throw them to the wolves. Not try and recall them, not try and save them. Just let them delay the French as long as possible. You know, and basically, you know, they're going to die where they stand. So here they are, they're getting charged. They've got to run away. And the entire skirmisher line is just ripe for the plucking right now. There's really nothing left of them in terms of they've got no ammo, their morale is shattered, they can't do anything more. So it's not going to take much to push them over at this point. This is a lot of French troops out here now. They did a hell of a job though in stopping Lafol's division and delaying the French attack as much as possible. And yeah, they're too far away to unsplit from their parent units. So really, I'm just throwing them to the wolves here, and you know, just putting them out there as a fence made of men. You know, they're just gonna get run over. But like I said, the longer I can keep the French from actually engaging Saint-Armand proper, the town itself, the longer the town will be able to stand. Alright, so the French have charged our skirmisher units, but guess what you've come in range of now, my friends? That's right. You are now in range of the guns. And you're getting fired on by this line unit while you're trying to form up. And now we're intercepting courier messages. Ugh. Canister fire, nothing like it. So now my skirmishers are engaged here, shooting at this unit over here, but not the line unit. The line unit is just sitting back here, resting, getting screened. I knew those guys wouldn't stand for long. They're getting fired on by this big line unit as well as the artillery. So, like I said, this whole position is pretty much unapproachable from here. You're not going to just walk up to it. Alright, so we've got 2 units back in the castle. But you can see Pachot's division is slowly but surely edging their way around the fort. They've got it surrounded on 3 sides, pretty good now. And it takes time, but this is how you break down a fort like this. Is surround it on as many sides as you can, and just bring a sustained fire to it. And sooner or later, it'll go. It's inevitable. And our gun battery here has taken some hits. We've lost 31 men. See if we can reform them and tighten their position up a little bit. It's tough to compete with French artillery. French artillery is so good. That's why over at Saint Armand, I do, go through the effort every time of turning their guns around, because I just don't want to have to deal with it. Over here at Ligny, that's not really viable to do. Once again, our units are falling back out of the fort. They're doing okay. They're just tired. They've got 100 points. They've inflicted 351 casualties, but they've taken 329. So it's largely been an even fight. And we'll regroup them and try and send them back in there. And as I said, here come more of this French infantry breaking through the Saint Armand skirmisher fence here, and soon they'll be able to move up and start engaging the town. Some of the units already are, and like I said, that's inevitable. That skirmish line was never going to hold forever. But they did do a heck of a job of delaying the French thus far. We're nearly an hour and a half into the battle now, and just now the French are starting to make it to Saint Armand. And we gave them quite the bloody nose to get there. So here comes our skirmisher line that briefly fell back into the fort. We're now going to deploy them in front of this line. But the French can only come so close. If they get too close, they're going to get shot at by the cannon. And that is a well-protected battery. You can't just go and get it out of there. You're going to take a lot of damage from it. These guys are getting the best of it so far, but we're just going to run a skirmisher unit out on the flank, and they'll fall apart. Alright, so they're really making a push for Saint Armand at this point. Still too far away to unsplit. I have no idea where their parent unit is. So we're just going to keep withdrawing them. But now we've got a line unit engaged, and we've got all these cannon out here who are just going to be blowing this unit to pieces. You can see they've already started. We're shooting into their flank with the line unit. And they're going to cut that unit up like a Thanksgiving turkey really fast. Now, all these units are out of ammo here, so they're not firing back at the French. They're really just standing there like a fence, just keeping the French engaged. You can see we've run this unit off. Just to keep them from engaging the castle as long as possible. You can see the fortress is driving these units off. This unit has gone and driven this unit off before we even got the skirmishers up there, so we're just going to bring them back to being in front of the, to screen the line unit here. So this is about, like, as far as they can comfortably come. If they try and get any closer, the guns are going to go open up on them with canister. And, you know, they'll just get shot to pieces. So they really can't come as close as they'd like to come, and, you know, we're just going to be peppering them with our skirmishers. And I'm just bouncing back and forth between Ligny and Saint Armand. Again, we're down to one unit in the castle. Looks like they just don't want to stay in there. They've really had enough of this castle. They're tired. But I'm going to keep forcing them in there as long as we can keep that castle. Lost another man from that battery. This is why I moved everybody back behind the river, because if we stayed forward of the river in the forward part of that town, that French artillery would just start cutting slices out of us. You can see they've moved the entire gun line up now. That's just a lot of guns out there. We're no match for that. We don't have the artillery to answer that. And we certainly don't want our men in a forward position where they can get shot at. This unit is still, despite the fact that I've laid them down, they're still taking losses. So I'm going to back them up even further behind these houses and behind this tree, and hopefully that's far enough back to keep them from taking any more losses. They're not by any means damaged badly. You know, they're a 500-600 man unit. They've lost 41 men. That's nothing, but I just don't want that to continue needlessly, getting bombarded and losing men for no reason. It does no good. So I'll hold them back until I need to actually bring them forward. And here we are back at Saint Armand La Haye. The fortress virtually defends itself. It's probably the formation you need to watch the least, because just the way it's set up is just so devastating to even come near it. You know, like I said, it virtually defends itself. And here come the guns, and I have my skirmisher unit right in position. Turn these buggers around. I know the cavalry is right behind them. So there's the cavalry, and what we want to do is stop these guns from being able to set up here and bomb away on our squares. They'll make quick work of those squares if we let them set up that close. So the guns approached a little bit to the right of where I anticipated that they would. But nevertheless, we're turning them around, getting them out of there. Run, boys, run. And I'm double quicking them. I just want to get these guys as near to the guns as possible so we can turn them around. And then we're going to have to make a run for it because the cavalry is right behind them. Now, these woods here will slow the cavalry down a little bit. But once they come through these woods, we better not be here or we're just going to get run down. So, okay, all the guns have turned around now. They're going to deploy back behind the woods and far enough away from our squares that they probably won't be a threat to them. The squares are all the way back here. However, time to get this skirmisher unit out of here because here come the cavalry. Now, you'll notice the way I've deployed these squares. I have them basically going right up to the creek, and I have another square on the other side of the creek. So we're really just basically limiting the cavalry to coming at these squares or trying to move around to the left, and then the guns will be in position to take them on. So there's not really a lot the cavalry is going to be able to do in and of itself because I knew it was going to be cavalry coming forward over here, which is why I have these units set up in square. You'll see both units are defending the bridge, the only crossing point on the creek. It takes cavalry a long time to get across the creek, and I have more units back here behind these squares if they do come around. But largely what I'm doing is I'm trying to use this creek to cut off the cavalry that's coming down from being a factor when Duret's division comes down from the other side of this creek, and basically we'll have the cavalry on one side and Duret's division on the other, and they'll basically be kind of cut off from helping each other. So one cavalry squadron really wants the skirmisher unit, but they're not going to get them because at this point they're back behind the squares now, and we've recalled them. And you can charge all you want, boys, but there's a big square here, and you're not going to get any part of it. So we've opened up on the cavalry here. One squadron has thought better of it. They're turning around. So yeah, any of these units now that wander too close to these guns are going to get hell put to them. Got them bottled up nicely in here. And let's see how things are going on at Saint Armand here. So a lot of French units here, but you know the approach route into Saint Armand is kind of narrow on both sides here. If you come in from the roadside, you get kind of bottled up down here, and if you come in from the top, you get kind of bottled up in here. The town really acts like a big breakwater in terms of it's really tough to funnel large amount of troops into it. You know, so even though there's a whole French division out here, or division and a half at this point, it's tough for them to just overwhelm us with numbers because it's just tough for them to squeeze a huge amount of numbers into that kind of small area. You know, so it's almost like they just have too many men out there and you can't get them all into a good fighting position because there's just not enough room to. And that kind of is what makes the Saint Armand position so good. I'm going to start pulling my squares back a little bit because you can see some of these guns have come back. They're deploying in the woods. They're still not as close as they would have had I just let them deploy where they wanted to deploy. But they're close enough that I want to start giving a little bit of ground and kind of refusing my flanks and just keeping my units away from where they are. Generally speaking, once the French guns set up, that's where they'll stay. You know, so you know, once I see them set up, I'm comfortable with just moving my units back out of range of them, and you know, I'm relatively confident that the guns won't follow up and move forward again. They'll just kind of stay where they are. So we've bottled Berthazine's division. Is that who this is? We've bottled them up quite nicely in here. Got a whole bunch of infantry set up behind these skirmishers. I mean, this is a strong position right here, and this is even stronger. You can't really get near this. So they're basically coming as close as they dare and not getting the better of it. You know, they come forward, they fall back, they come forward, they fall back, but they really won't approach any closer than this because they know if they do, these guns are going to start pouring canister fire into them, and that'll make short work of them real fast. And unfortunately, you know, their guns are all the way back out here, and you know, like I said, once the AI unlimbers its guns, it pretty much leaves them there. You know, so it would help if they could bring their guns forward, but I said, the AI doesn't really do that a lot. You know, it'll do it as part of an initial script. You know, if that's what the script, you know, it has them programmed to do. But once you force them to unlimber, they'll pretty much stay where they are. And I will be right back, guys. I'm just heading to the fridge. Guys, I am back. So we've got one unit in the castle here, and it looks like for the time being, Peugeot's division has given up on the castle, or are at least not firing at it. So let's see if we can run this unit back in there. Temporarily, at least, it looks like Peugeot's division has withdrawn from the immediate vicinity of the castle. They pulled their flanks in, and they're no longer firing at it. It looks like what they're doing is regrouping and letting the artillery soften it up more before they go and try and approach again, which is a smart move. If you can bomb away and damage the fort, it won't be as good a defensible position. You can, you know, kill more men inside the fort by bombing away with them with artillery. We can't respond to it because the guns are, you know, not in engaged distance. You know, so temporarily they've pulled back their flanks. They're no longer engaging the fort, and they're letting their artillery bomb away on it. Which is a smart move for them in terms of, you know, protecting their men and letting them regroup and recuperate while they still cause damage to the fort and inflict casualties on the men inside the fort. But it's good for us too, because we are still delaying the French advance towards the town itself. This is the objective over here. The fort isn't worth anything. This is what you want, and they've made no attempt at it thus far. So, you know, anything that wastes time and lets us hold on to this objective longer is good for us. You know, sooner or later, the French are going to come, and when they come in full force, you know, they're going to push us out of that town. And we want it to be later rather than sooner. The longer we can hold on to these objectives, the more points we'll accumulate. The more points we can accumulate, the less important it becomes to entice the French into trying to assault this secondary line that we're going to set up. If we can get enough points before we lose those objectives, you know, then we can just sit back behind our secondary line that we're setting up here, and it just doesn't really matter at that point whether the French try to attack it or not. It will only matter if they push us out of those positions before we've had enough time to get enough points from them, and then we really have to try and entice them into attacking that ring of fortresses that we're setting up, because at that point we'll need to extract a lot of casualties out of the French to make up the difference from losing the objectives earlier. So we still want to try and hold on to them for as long as possible. So the French have finally made it towards Saint Armand here, and are now engaging the castle. No, the church. Castle's in Ligny. So they're now finally engaging the units in the church, and it's, you know, almost 2 hours into the scenario before they got to fire their first shot at the church. So that's good. As I said, the church is the linchpin of the defense over here, because you cannot move around it or by it or around behind it as long as it's occupied, because you'll get shot in the back. So really, to get a foothold in Saint Armand for the French, they must capture this church. That's first and foremost the most important thing. And we have 2 units outside ready to hop into the church. You know, if this unit gets routed out of it. And as I said, these small units do really good inside the church, which is why I don't overcrowd it. You know, you can fit 1,000 men in here, but very rarely do I put more than 200 or 300 men in here, because the small units just tend to do better. Don't ask me why, but they do. You know, especially these small 200, 300 man, you know, battalions. You know, they tend to do good in the church. And like I said, any small unit that's coming up with attached to a full regiment, I'll usually grab them, detach them, and bring them over to the church. So I have lots of reserves to put into the church. So a clear case of me not paying attention. I'm trying to make this unit engage and get on this unit's flank and shoot them to pieces, and clearly I'm just not aware that they have no ammo. You can see that down here, when this disappears, it'll say 0. They don't have any ammo. There it is, see? So that's why they're not engaged. There it is. Oh, look at that. No ammo. Okay. We need a supply wagon. And we need to get them up to this unit to resupply them. And once they do, and we resupply the skirmish unit, you'll see this unit break and run very quickly. Yeah, now I'm seeing all these units are out of ammo. It's amazing they're not taking more casualties. Run, little supply wagon. And all you have to do to resupply them is just move the supply wagon kind of right up to their flag. Now, a lot of times I can just see what's going on just by looking at the mini-map and not actually bouncing to the area. So all I did there was just do a quick strategic check to make sure the situation all around the map kind of looked the same as it did a few minutes ago. So I don't need to bounce around, and I'm just staying on Saint Armand here, because I have to get this little supply wagon run going here. All right. So you can see now they're back at 40 rounds. And they will begin engaging this unit. You can see them starting to fire now. And very quickly, this unit will decide, oh, look, we have a unit on our flank. Let's get out of here. So men are dropping. And there they go. Flank fire. Fastest way to get an enemy unit to break and run without actually having to melee them. So now that the skirmish unit is once again resupplied, and sometimes you can use road movement to actually make your direction go a little bit more like what you want it to go instead of running around the house like they were going to there. We just hit road movement. It makes them move along the roads, and that keeps them behind your lines. Alrighty, so now this unit will be resupplied, and now they are back up to 40 rounds. There they go, and they can start engaging. And last but not least, we will hit this skirmisher unit. There we go. So these guys have inflicted 116 casualties and only taken 45. However, that's brought them down to half strength. And as you can see, this attack into this position did not amount to much because there's just really no way the French can approach that position. There's nothing the French can do over here either because, well, you know, there's squares in front of there, and the cavalry can't do anything. However, their artillery is still bombing away. They are inflicting a few losses. We've lost 23 men on that square. But no problem. As long as we can keep the cavalry on this side of the creek, we can just keep giving ground and tightening up our position and moving away from the artillery. And once back in the town, the buildings will act as cover, and these guns really won't be able to hit us that well. Alright, so all our skirmishers are resupplied now. And all these other skirmish units, they're all pretty good on ammo. So we can bring the supply wagon back to the cannon now. Now, if you leave the supply wagons under AI control, they will pretty much make the rounds and kind of resupply everybody they can. However, they don't always do it in the order you want them to do it. They can sometimes get themselves in trouble by going too far out and getting captured, or they won't. They'll just, you know, units that are engaged on the front line, the supply wagon simply won't go out that far, and those units will run out of ammo anyway. So even though it takes a little bit more work and a little bit more micromanagement, I tend to like to take command of the supply wagons and control where they go manually. Yeah, that's a little bit more logistical work, but you know, I'm able to resupply units when I want to and control it myself rather than just letting them wander around and do it themselves. They will eventually get to everybody that they can get to, but by taking control of them, you can make sure that they get to units that they might not ordinarily go to because they're too far forward. Alrighty, so again, we're still holding on. We've got 3 units into the castle now, and they are continuing to be bombed away on by the artillery. But hey, anything that wastes time, anything that slows the tempo and you know, delays the French from their goal. This is only Pichot's division. Remember, Vichery's division is still out there. I don't believe they've been engaged yet. When they come forward, they're likely to make more of a push for the town than the castle, just because they're deployed more on that side of the line to begin with. But so far, I don't think they've made any move towards the town. So we're about 2 hours into the battle now, and it's definitely starting to heat up more. And I'm just pulling some of these units back. I'm just trying to conserve them from taking too many losses from the French artillery. That gun line is much closer now than it was before. You can see they're basically right outside the town there, lined up bombing away on the town. And You know, there's so much infantry out there, there isn't really anything we can do about it. They're already unlimbered anyway, so sending skirmisher units out there wouldn't do anything. They would just get shot up. You know, that trick only really works when the artillery is limbered and on the move. Once they're unlimbered and firing, you know, there's nothing you can really do about it unless we had some cavalry over there, but we don't. So things have momentarily quieted down, so I'm going to slowly start setting up these fortresses, you know, as our secondary line. You can see this unit is headed towards the castle of Saint Armand because they're one of those small little 200-man, you know, battalions that will work great inside the castle. So that's where they're going, and we're going to start setting up our squares and blocking in these guns, and getting that going. Again, this is only the very beginning of it. You know, you can literally take hours to set this up because you're going to have so much time to actually do it. So we're setting up a very big line, but you're only seeing a small portion of it right now because it's just what I had over here. These units are still of the First Corps. We haven't even grabbed anything from Purchase Second Corps yet. You know, who are deployed out of sight back here. These units are all still First Corps units that we don't really need on the front line. So I'm just bringing these units forward, bringing these guns forward. We're going to start setting up a line that's going to swing all the way around, kind of in here, as a backup line. Basically, you can see the outline of it. So we're setting up kind of the right part of it first, and we'll move from right to left. So this attack over here has largely petered out. This attack is still going, but we got our skirmishers all resupplied here, and they're doing pretty good. This unit is broken. That's why they're all just spaced out like that. They're not routed, but they're a long way from being useful again. And this attack is just completely petered out. It's unapproachable. You can't get any more closer than about here, because any closer and these guns will start ripping into these units with canister fire. And this unit here, I'm recalling and just splitting out a fresh 100-man group. And as you can see, they're recalling their skirmishers. There's not enough left here. There's like 3 battalions. So we've tightened up our lines in here now. The guns are much further away now. The cavalry can't really do anything. And the creek has largely got them on this side, and LaFoll's division, Duret's division is going to come from around here. And we have these units back here, which I will then turn to face them when they appear, because I don't know exactly where they come from. So I've just got these units back here behind the squares, and we'll move out to meet Duret's division when we see them. But you can see we've only got a couple of 4 battalions set up in square. We have a whole bunch of infantry that's still free to fight if we need them back behind here. And our units are still pretty stable inside the castle. These guys are all pretty safe back here. Our skirmisher line is still intact. And the only thing we really have to worry about is just making sure we're not getting chipped down by all this artillery out here. And okay, these guys are not taking any more losses now, so that's a good spot for them. None of these guys are taking losses. And that's all I'm making sure of here, is that none of these units are taking excessive losses from the artillery. Because there are a lot of French guns out there, and we just need to make sure that they're not zeroing in on some of our boys and really slaughtering them. But no, everything seems okay so far. So, okay, we can get back to work here. So this one is pretty much set up, although the square is a little bit too far forward into the... Yeah, there we go. Move them in a little bit. Now, it may look like I have the squares a little too far forward, but remember these guns are limbered. When they unlimber, they will advance, and when they move out, they'll probably be right behind the squares, which is where we want them. So when setting this up, and the guns are obviously have nothing to shoot at being this far back, just be aware that when the guns do unlimber, they will move out in front of their caissons and advance a little bit, like this. See how they're out in front of their caissons? So just bear in mind when you set up your squares that you want to account for that, so that the guns are still safe behind the squares. Look at this army of skirmishers right here. And none of that blocks line of sight. The guns can keep firing right through that, no problem. Alright, so the French have charged and gotten us out of there. Ran our skirmish unit out, but, we got a whole army and a bunch of cannon back here. So here's that skirmisher unit they've withdrawn. But they're still in good shape. We'll bring them back. This unit is not going to stand here for long. Like I said, it's really tough to approach Saint Armand. You really got to do it through either here or up here. And it's tough to really bring a lot of forces to bear through the town while this church is occupied. Because you have the units inside the church have a 360-degree field of fire. You can't just move past it. So it's a great bottleneck. We've got this whole French division stopped up in here because they can't really bring all their troops to bear. They could charge that skirmisher unit and get them out of there, but they're still going to be bottlenecked. So we've moved some of our own guns over now that we've got two squares set up over here. We've moved some of our own guns so we can shoot at the French cavalry out here. And I'm slowly starting to refuse my right here, just because, just to have units start to face the way Duret's division is going to come from. Like I said, I don't remember exactly which way they come from, whether it's this road or the one over, but I know they come from back there, so I'm just turning some units to face them in the event. You see all the French cavalry is now backed up back here. They're just holding their position, not really any threat to us. And these units are moving into position to start setting up more of the fortresses. This one is pretty good. This is the first one we've got here. And I'm also just going to tighten them up a little bit. And like I said, you have plenty of time to refine this. You have hours and hours. We're only 2 hours into the battle. So plenty of time. And we're intercepting courier messages now. That's always a good sign. So I'm putting my skirmishers out to screen the guns. All of this is just setting up stuff ahead of time. All right, now I can actually see that some of now Vichery's division is advancing on the town. They're not there yet. Don't need to run over there just yet, but I can see it's happening. Here they come. This is Vichery's division right here, and they are making for the town. But we have a strong skirmisher line set up. Once they come through this first row of buildings here, and they make it into this clearing and this clearing, they're going to be all broken up and disorganized, and we have a whole skirmisher line and line units ready to shoot at them as they emerge from these into these clearings here. So we have a good troop set up here. And now that I see units coming, I'll start advancing the line units to behind to support the skirmisher units. So he's got 2 brigades, Desprez and Le Capitaine. And at the same time, Peugeot has now started to re-engage the castle. So Gerard's Corps is now making their first. They're getting ready to make their first big push on Ligny here. But we have a strong position. I'm pretty confident that we're going to be able to hold them. You know, fortunately, the objective is all the way back here, which really gives us the ability to withdraw behind the creek and set up a strong line behind it, you know, kind of unbroken. You know, we're not tied up by all these buildings out here. We pretty much have a nice long line here to meet them. And they're going to be all kind of discombobulated and disorganized as they work their way through that first row of buildings. All right, so I'm going to move this battery over because really what I want to do is I want to set up a fortress like this. Then I want to bring another square up in here and have a cavalry unit in here. So we're going to have fortress, horsey fort, fortress, horsey fort, fortress, horsey fort, and basically run down the line like that. And what that does is it prevents any enemy infantry from approaching and shooting up our squares without being forced into square themselves. And then it's a matter of, well, we're the ones with the artillery, you know. So, like I said, it's a big game of kind of military rock paper scissors, where you always want to be able to bring more options against the enemy than they can against you. In what I call, combined arms BS. So we are still holding our ground here. This skirmisher unit is doing absolutely amazing. They've killed 238 men and they've only taken 16 losses. They're in a good spot here. They're in the woods, you know. They've got their flanks anchored on buildings in the town. They're in a good spot. There's no real reason for these guys to be in square all the way over here. These 2 units here are covering the both banks of the creek nicely. So really, I'm just building up a force on the right side over here, just because I don't know if they come down this road, or this road, but I know Duret's division kind of comes from that area, so I'm just slowly starting to shift some of my units to the right side there. I don't think they come for a while yet, though. Got to get this battery. We've been resupplying this battery, but I'm sure these guys are getting low now. So they have a whole lot of troops back here, but they're really just the entryway into this area is so small. They're just kind of stuck back there, which is what's so great about the Saint Armand area is that it's just really tough for the French to approach because it's just such a narrow kind of corridor to get in here, and really you can't really do anything until you take the castle. You have to take the castle because without it you can't really move past it. You're just going to get shot in the back. Alright, let's see what's going on at Ligny here. So, alright, we still got 3 units in the church. And we can see that Vichery's division is starting to move through the town now. Here they come. But as you can see, they're all getting broken up by these buildings. They're going to come through pretty much 1 battalion at a time. They're not going to be able to deploy in any great numbers. And we're going to be able to basically pick them off one at a time as they come up here. So this is a really, really good position right here. I highly recommend setting up something like this when you play the scenario, because you can see they're all getting discombobulated and messed up. Their formations are falling apart as they move through the town here, and now we're going to open up and engage them. And not only are our skirmishers going to engage them, but so are our line units. So here they go. They're forming line. They're getting dropped while they're doing that. You can see some of the bodies already on the ground over here. We've got 3 skirmisher units out in front, 2 line units behind. We're in good shape over there. So here they come, and like I said, their formations are all broken up here. They're going to get, you know, as they try and come through, they're really going to get pounded on. And since it looks like they're all trying to come through in this one spot here, see if we can set up something of a flank guard on this side here. If they try to come through here, we have a unit right here, and here they come. And I'm just shifting this unit over to guard the crossing on the bridge. You can see these units setting up in line, kind of right there. That's a nice mass target for us here. You can see they're quickly falling back. Not good. You know, our units are all nicely set up back here, and they're kind of just, they're not able to set up the same thing because of all the buildings in the way here. And you can see they're just, some of their units are just stuck running around in these buildings. These guys here are getting shot in the flank by this unit. This line unit has opened up on them now as well. Now we got this unit opening up. This unit, you know, all these units are in perfect position. You know, it's such a good position, I have no problem just walking away from that situation right now and checking up on what's going on. Okay, so we've resupplied that unit yet again. And again, we have some units trying to move across the bridge. Very tough, because if you try to move around the castle, we have the cannon and all those skirmishers back there. If you try to move towards the church, you know, the units in the church will start firing at you. So it's really tough. There's not a lot of room to work with over here. You know, these units here are going to be shooting at this unit. must not like have line of sight to this. Yeah, it says no valid targets in weapon range, so we have to shift our position a little bit to actually engage this unit right here. Why can't we engage them? It must be a really hilly area for them to not be able to see them over here. And you can tell they can't because it says no valid targets in weapon range, as well as the little target icon is not above their flag. Alright, so now we have them engaged. Okay, so now we're shooting at them. And they will begin giving ground very quickly. There's the little target. Now you know we're shooting at them. But we're shooting at all these guys out here. Check Ligny again real quick. Now, like I said, this is what I do. I just bounce back and forth between all the hotspots. Run away, officer. You'll get killed. And you can see we've driven off a lot of these units already. You know, they're bottled up in that first part of the town, which has a lot more buildings, and it's really tough for them to get their lines dressed and in proper formation. And yeah, there they go. You're gonna have to rethink this, boys. You know, they're by no means destroyed. We gave them a bloody nose, and that's about it. They will surely regroup and come back for more later. But that was a really good setup we did there. Really good positioning. We were able to bring all our fire immediately to bear on them while they were all messed up and discombobulated and disorganized from trying to move through that first area of buildings that they just got it put to them when they came out. All right, so now these are units of Purchase Corps back here, and we're going to start bringing them over to this area on the Sombref here that we're setting up our secondary line. And we have so many troops that I'll pretty much bring them over regiment by regiment and, you know, dedicate each regiment to one battery. And then once we have the outline of it all set up, then I'll start bringing cavalry over and filling in the gaps with horsey forts. And this is all just in preparation for much later in the battle when, like I said, the French will commit the Imperial Guard. They'll bring Lobau's Corps up. They'll bring Milhaud and Guyot's cavalry up, and they'll really start to gain an edge in numbers on us in the forward areas of the line. And at that point, depending on how the French use those troops, that's when we'll start pulling troops back behind this secondary line that we're setting up. But right now, we're holding them really easily. So here come a few more units. There's not much left of this division. But by all means, boys, come and get it. And I always keep the one line unit behind the artillery, and their purpose is basically just to be the source of skirmishers. So here they come again, or here they go again. So now they've shifted out to the right a little bit. They've now got one battalion out in front. They've got one in reserve here, but you know, we've got all these units shooting at them, you know, and they just can't bring enough firepower to bear in this area that's just too populated with buildings for them to set up an effective line where they can really bring a lot of fire to bear against us. Which is why it's so good to actually pull back to this more open area behind the creek and just right in front of it. And set up a long line where you can bring a lot of volume of fire to bear against the French who come out of the first row of buildings in this town, all disorganized and messed up. and this is a good way to really just pick them apart. Alrighty, so here we are over at the Tongrenel area. I can see that Hulot's division is starting to advance. Here they come. And here come the guns. So once again, let's split off some skirmishers. I probably should have done this a lot earlier, but we got a big advance notice here. They're still a ways off. So our guns have already started opening on them. And we're going to set up a line between this bridge and the skirmishers. And we're going to send these skirmishers forward to turn the guns around. And we're just going to run them right across use road movement, run them right across the bridge, and just stop these guns from being a factor. These guys are way too far forward. We're going to have to pull them back. There go our skirmishers. And we have a ton of cavalry over here. This position is really, really strong. We have... When I actually go around and scroll, you'll see it's just absolutely stupid strong in terms of the amount of troops we have to defend it. I don't even use them all. It's not necessary. There's just so much over here. So yeah, here comes Hulot's division. He's got 2 brigades as well. But we're turning his cannon around. That's the most important thing. But we'll let our skirmishers stay up here and see if we can actually delay them and force them to stop and deploy. They may just charge right through us, but you never know until... let's see what they do here. Some of them are starting to deploy. Let's see what this unit wants to do here. Because if they just want to charge us, I can probably just withdraw across the bridge and hold them up on right behind the bridge for quite a while. So no, they're all stopping to engage this one. See, this is why skirmishers are absolutely stupid in this game. Because I've used one skirmish unit, 100 men, to force an entire division to stop in its tracks and go online. Well, they are trying to get us out of here now. But we're going to pull back across this side of the creek here and see if we can't delay them even further. This is why skirmishers are so dumb. Did you see how far out in front of my lines and how far away from my parent unit I was able to send those that skirmisher group? Force their guns to turn all the way around, force their division to deploy and go into battle line and engage over one skirmisher unit. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's, you know, that's the way you can use skirmishers in this game is just stupid. You know, and that's why in my video where I talked about my thoughts on the next Scourge of War game, I definitely suggest that skirmishers' powers need to be a lot more reined in and a lot more limited to what they are now, because right now they're just utterly dumb in terms of the distance you can send them away from the parent unit that they're separated from, and you know, the fact that you can use the, you know, them to you know, to stop an entire division in its tracks, turn its guns around like that, that's like completely crazy. You know, and it's among many other things, that's just one of the things that makes skirmishers just so ridiculously good in this game. You know, and the fact that there's no limit to how many I can kick out. I could literally split off this entire unit that's, you know, 600 men and send out, you know, 6 skirmisher groups from them and just flood the field with skirmishers. It's just crazy. This is all 3rd Corps troops over here. This is how many troops we have. I mean, this is nuts. This is all our cavalry over here. I mean, we just have a ton of troops. And we will use this cavalry later on. And now we're back over by Ligny. So I give you a nice tour of the extreme left of our line there. So as you can see, we've completely pushed back all of Vichery's division here, or at least the units that engaged us here. Gave them a nice bloody nose. They're pulling back now, moving back out of the town, and we'll be able to do that for quite a while. So now we see that the here's Pajol's cavalry. They're moving towards the Tongrenel area too. So we're gonna have to get ready for that. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna run to the fridge again, guys. I'll be right back. Alrighty, I am back. And as you can see, we're pulling our skirmishers back now. Their entire division, Hulot's entire division, is forming up behind the creek. But we've bought ourselves a little bit of time to set up our defenses, bringing some cavalry forward because I know that Pajol's cavalry is headed this way. Move some infantry up behind the artillery battery here. All right, you guys can stop being heroes and come back now. You guys did a great job in forcing this division to go online. But now we'll take over and let them come up here. And we'll set up some skirmishers in front of everything. We've already got the guns screened. Bring the cavalry up a little bit because if the units decide to come down this road here, not going to happen. They're going to have to form square because the cavalry is right here, and then we can shoot them up with these line units. And this unit in the back behind the guns, that's just our supply of skirmishers. Keep them coming because there's no limit to how many of them I can use. And we bring an assault column up and put them right behind the line unit because if we need a counter-attacking force, we have one right behind the line unit. This is actually a pointless attack by the French. They're so outmanned and outgunned. It's just absolutely pointless. When I play the French scenario, I never do this with Ulat's division. I never provoke von Thielmann. It's pointless. You're outnumbered like 8-1 over here. So there go the guns with the canister fire. So this will not take long to clean up. Oh yeah, what are we gonna do here? See how our boys are doing over. Boy, are they pooped. And they're almost out of ammo again. Gotta get that supply wagon back up to them again. A real quick view down the line here, nothing really going on. Everything is under control. So let's get back to where the battle, like I said, it flares up in different spots. Forced to form square. Not good for these boys. So now they're getting shot at by the skirmishers, they're getting shot at by the line units, and they're in canister range. I mean, the deck is really stacked against them here. Ugh. We're just ripping into these units. And we're bringing some infantry over here to support our cavalry. Moving off to the right here, but you're going to be forced to form square. Now you can also see some guns moving over. This is the artillery of Pajol. So they're fast moving because they're horse batteries. They move a little faster. And we're going to have to get them out of there. And the best thing to do is take one of these cavalry squadrons and just send them after the guns to turn them around. So we got charged, got our skirmishers ran off, but this unit is in a terrible spot. They're going to get shot at by this line unit. They're going to get shot at by the guns. They're already moving to get ready to blast them with canister. And I'm going to send a cavalry squadron to go get them. And I'm double clicking them because I'm not that concerned with actually capturing them. Like I'm more concerned with just making sure they can't come as close as they want to. So again, forced to form square. Now I'm going to set off some skirmishers to screen these guns, of course. Screen this cavalry, of course, because we don't want the square to just be able to shoot at them with impunity. So we'll get some skirmishers out in front of the cavalry. You can see the guns are turning right around. Now they're going to gain a lot of ground on us here as we try to cross this creek. That's going to slow us down. And once they make it through the buildings, they're pretty much safe. So I don't think we're going to capture any of these guns, but at least we ran them off. These guys are beginning to give way. They're in a hell of a bad situation. Yeah, see, that's terrible. You can't take that. Yeah, he's probably too far away. Oh, we recall. No, we recall the skirmisher group, and we'll just kick out a fresh one to screen this unit. So now we've got these units all trapped up in square. And these guys have basically, the guns have gotten away, but that's fine. We weren't really concerned with chasing them down so much as just making sure they couldn't move forward and unlimber anywhere near us. And we're moving some more cavalry out. We got so much cavalry back here. Tons of cavalry. And tons of infantry too. Like I said, this is a dumb attack on Hulot's part. He's no match for what we've got back here. And when I play the French, I never ever make a move to this area. It's way too heavily defended. This is just a waste of Hulot's division. So look how far back their guns are. No threat to us. And all these guns have been turned around now. Now their cavalry is coming forward. But we're bringing our cavalry forward. We've got infantry as well. You know, so we're going to make life real hard on them. And that is, I believe that is all of Pajol's cavalry. And if I were you boys, I would just stay right there. You don't want to, believe me, you're not going to want to come forward when you see what I'm setting up for you. So there go the squares, breaking and running. Like I said, I knew it wouldn't take long to shred this whole thing. See what's going on at Ligny. Not much. So you can see we've ran Vichery's whole division out of town, but we have lost the castle. They have run our units out of the castle. Inevitable. They held for nearly 2.5 hours. You know. So in 2.5 hours, it took the French 2.5 hours to capture the castle. They've barely made a move on the town itself. We still got our skirmisher line back here. If they try to push through it, I'll bring some infantry forward now to protect the guns. We'll blow these units to pieces when they come within range of canister fire. So no, they're just setting up in line. Can't say I blame them, because if they come in here, the canister's going to start ripping into them. So they really have no choice but to set up in line and just try and shoot it out. So no problem. Vichery's division has been pushed out of the town. Pichot has finally captured the castle, and he can begin moving around it. Let's see how he does. He spent a lot of men, though, a lot of energy on taking that castle, so it's probably going to take him a while to regroup and organize an assault on the area behind the castle, which is pretty heavily defended. We've got guns, we've got more infantry back here. So they sent forward a skirmisher group. We've got our skirmishers kind of trading fire with them. We're going to move this unit back behind the creek, behind the skirmisher group. And it looks like with things secure at Tongrenel, and we're a little while away from anything more happening at Ligny, let's bring some more units forward and start extending our line here. Some of our guns are actually in range to start firing at stuff. You can see they've unlimbered and they're firing. But you can see here's the first part of it right here. We're going to extend it right around in a big semicircle. So here we are back at the Tongrenel area, and Boy, have we shredded Hulas Division with a quickness. And here comes our cavalry making its way back. We've got a whole bunch of cavalry moving up. I'll have to finesse that and straighten that out. That looks terrible. Wrong formation. There we go. That looks a little better. So here comes some more French weaving their way around the town here. But again, they're gonna, if they come straight forward, they're gonna come within range of this cavalry and be forced into square, and it's just they're gonna get bombed on. And this is how I really love to use cavalry. If I can do it, is use them to force infantry into square so that my infantry and my artillery can really get the best of it. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of cavalry on cavalry combat, and I do try to avoid that if I can, because it's more of a coin flip. You never, it's am I going to win or am I not going to win? I would rather use cavalry in conjunction with all the other arms to give myself a tactical advantage on over the whole area, as opposed to just trying to use my cavalry to attack the enemy cavalry. I mean, not that that can't work, but it's just not how I like to do it. I like to use cavalry as a threat more than actually liking to use it in combat. To me, cavalry is like a precision arm. I like to use cavalry for precision strikes, to take guns, to strike at enemy units that aren't in square, to force enemy units into square. I don't necessarily use the massed cavalry charge so much. It's not really that usable in this game because of how fast infantry units can form square. It literally only takes them a couple of seconds in the game to form themselves into square. So the whole idea of the massed cavalry charge, it doesn't work so well in the game, and just because of how fast units can form square. So rather, it's better to just let them form square, and squares do great against cavalry, but they do terrible against everything else. So if you can use cavalry to form enemy units into square, then you can bring everything else to bear against them, like infantry and artillery and skirmishers, and they're gonna get hit doubly hard because they're in square. So that's how I really like to use cavalry. That's not to say I never ever use cavalry on cavalry. In fact, later in the battle, you will see a hell of a cavalry battle. These troops are exhausted, but my goodness, what damage they've done to the enemy. They have killed nearly 500 men. So, okay, more of this French division is now moving forward. It's so tough to break through that Saint Armand position, because even if you charge the skirmishers and get them out of there, you can't charge the church, so now you're stuck in front of the church. You can't bring many units against the church because of just how bottled up that Saint Armand position is. It's really tough when you set up that Saint Armand defense right for the French to get to it. It's just annoyingly hard for them to get enough troops into position to make their superior numbers be effective, because you're really bottling them up in this kind of small area. See, just a hell of a strong line we've got here at Saint Armand, and our left flank is real tough. We've got artillery, we've got a whole bunch of skirmishers, line units, got a whole bunch of reserves here for the church. And as you can see, the cavalry is all starting to come forward here at Tongrenel. We've got our cavalry in the center. We've got our infantry moving into position on the left in square. I've moved so many troops forward, we've lost the objective. So I need to bring some troops forward to occupy that objective. So we're going to bring this cavalry regiment of 3 squadrons, it looks like, and we're just going to have them move up and occupy the objective. We've already got the corps commander in place, but he needs a certain amount of troops within range of the objective, and we've now moved them all forward as we're developing this line. These guys they're trying to outflank us, but we've got skirmisher units on the flank. Anything they can do to stay away from these guns, but it's like their options really aren't good on. If you move over to the right, there's a lot of cavalry, and you're just going to be forced into square. As you can see, we've really crippled the whole part of this division. They're all running away. And we're bringing up a whole heck of a lot of defenses here, which I will have to refine this position. I just kind of brought them all over here at this point. And I haven't really finessed the position. So here comes some more French guns moving around our left flank. And we're going to have to do something about that. Go get them, boys. You can see the French really moving forward on our extreme left here. This is all of Pajol's cavalry. And we have a little bit of artillery, but not much over here. But that's okay. I'm actually going to condense our lines so that they have to come at this position, and we'll just have a little flank guard over here. You know, there's nothing of real worth over here. There's no reason for the French to really send a lot of forces to our extreme left. And we're going to take this squadron here. We really want to get these guns out of here. Now, even though they're unlimbered, that wouldn't work for skirmishers, for sure. But with cavalry, because they don't crew the guns, they just capture them, no problem, they can unlimber. And we'll still be able to go and take them. So we're a little slow as we get across the creek here, but now we're full steam ahead. Go get them, boys. See, this is how I like to use cavalry. I like to use cavalry to take guns. Now you can see there's a whole heck of a lot of French cavalry out here, so we have a limited amount of time to work with here to capture these guns. When these guys start seeing what's going on here, they're gonna come for us, and we're only one little squadron. So let's get what we can, give nothing back, and get out of here before this cavalry comes to get us. Now this battery is up on us with canister. Captured another battery. Okay, another gun, another gun, another gun. But we're getting real close to this cavalry now. I don't think we're going to be able to get all of this, but we're making these guys limber up and get out of here. Okay, time to get out of here, boys. Look at me trying to get that last gun. Wow, I care nothing about this cavalry squadron, do I? Oh, you guys are going to get mangled. You got like 5 squadrons charging you. You guys are absolutely done for. Oh well. They got all that artillery out of there, and it's only 70 men. And they scored 230 points, so I guess I can't be too mad at myself. I mean, it is only one squadron. And they surrendered. Oh well. They got all those guns out of there, though. You know, sometimes you gotta sacrifice. As Mr. Spock would say, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. So we got all those guns out of there, and all it cost us was one cavalry squadron. And I've got tons of cavalry up here. So the loss of one squadron is no big deal. So if Pajol's cavalry decides to come forward at this point, we have an arrowhead square formation here that they're gonna first have to come up against, and they're gonna get shot up. And if they start to break and run, then we have this cavalry back here to run them down with. And I'm sending this infantry out to protect this side of things, because I actually have a ton of infantry back there. I just want to protect this gun battery and set up a little bit of a flank guard in case they decide to try and move around my extreme left. I don't think they're going to. That's a very long, circuitous route. But what the heck? I have the troops to do it with, so let's send these guys over to protect those guns. There's nothing out there but cavalry, so I can just protect them with squares if I need to. So yeah, this is all just cavalry out here and some artillery. And we'll even back them off a little bit and, you know, really not make too much of an annoyance of ourselves. So the French cannon are back here, and we just want to make sure they don't do too much damage to our squares, but this has all been largely broken up over here, hasn't it? Let's see what's going on at Saint Armand. Still holding. You boys are incredible. 520 men you've killed. The only problem is these guys are going through ammo like you wouldn't believe. Nothing really going on over here. Can't advance on the fortress. It's too well defended, and you're just gonna get shot to pieces. The cavalry obviously can't do anything over here because the squares are protecting this whole position, and they can't ride past them. And let's check up on Ligny. So yep. Pashot's division has captured the castle, but they're not making much headway through it. Now, I just recalled a skirmisher unit there, so that's why that unit stopped. They've made no attempt on our left, on the left side of the town, only on the right at the castle and the center. and both attacks were easily repulsed, although they did capture the castle, but that's okay. Moving through past the castle is going to be tough with this battery back here. Let's check the Tongrenelle area one more time. So they've pretty much completely given up. The attack's been completely repulsed. And I just want to make sure Pajol's cavalry doesn't try and sweep around our left here. They can't really come up against this because there's squares here. I've got cavalry here. I've got cavalry here. We definitely outnumber them in every way with the cavalry. And I think I'm going to set up a square here as an anchor. Very smart move here, actually, to do this, to take this one unit, and because this is all cavalry over here, so even one square will stop them up. And like I said, I have so much back behind, it's not even funny. So now I'm anchoring my left over here with a whole regiment of squares to just close the door on any opportunity Pajol might have had. Like I said, there's just too many Third Corps troops here. This is why, look at all this, this, you know, this is all at my disposal right here, and just too much. So von Thielmann has about 2,100 points. Von Zieten has about 10,000 points. Perch is not really engaged. And Blucher has about 12,000 points. So we're getting there. More than halfway there. We need 19,000 points for a major victory. The French are slowly starting to encircle this position, though, but as I said, both my flanks are very heavily defended. We got a bunch of skirmishers out here. We have a big line unit. We have a big artillery battery. Finally they have taken those woods and driven the skirmish unit off. And, you know, these guys, Medal of Honor material right here. You guys did absolutely amazing. What a tremendous job they did. And now I'm just going to move a brand new fresh unit into that same position. Look at these guys. They took 27 casualties and they inflicted 537 casualties. Those guys are absolute superheroes. What a tremendous job they did defending that position. And we will let them come back and get a well-deserved rest because they're absolutely exhausted. And now we have a fresh unit in the exact same position. You boys are going to have to go through this hell all over again. Let's hope this skirmish unit is as good as the one that was standing here before. And everything is still very kosher over here. Check Ligny one last time here. We're coming down to 1730 where I'll stop the video. And that's another 2 hours of the battle covered here. So we'll be 3 hours into the battle at this point. So Pissot's division is getting driven off again. Like I said, it's really tough to make your way around this castle. It's pretty heavily defended back there behind it. All right, guys, there we are, 1730. We are now 3 hours into the battle, and you can see the French have really stepped up their attacks on Saint Armand, but our positions are still holding back behind the town. We've got a big artillery battery on the left flank, stopping anything from really approaching through here. They're really their numbers are mounting up over here, but this is the hardest part of the town to make it through because the church is right here. So you can't just move around it. You can't just ignore it. You have to clear the church out. And our skirmishers have been doing an incredible job at bottling these units up in front of the town. That one unit of superheroes killed 500 something men before they were forced to withdraw. Absolute Medal of Honor material right there. Um, Along the line here, along the road, we've repulsed most of that division. A couple of units are hanging back behind the lines, but nothing big going on. Not much left of Berthazine's division over here. The fortress made quick work of them. Um, the uh, the French cavalry is bottled up back here behind the woods. We have our 3 units in front over here that are in square, preventing them from basically getting through and getting to the rest of our division back here. And they're all on this side of this creek here, so they're kind of stuck over here. Later on, Duret's division of Derland's Corps will come up here, and they're either going to come down this road or this road. I forget which. But we have a whole bunch of units back here that we will turn to set up a line and meet them in here uh, and basically have them cut off from the cavalry back here. Um, Over in Ligny, like I said, we've still got Peugeot bottled up over here by the castle. Even though he has captured the castle, we've still got them bottled up. They've got to reorganize and try and come forward. It's tough to come forward through here because there's this big battery back here behind the creek. They're going to get blasted on if they try and push forward. We've pushed out Vichery's division. As I said, it's really tough to come through this town and get yourself set up after coming through this first row of buildings. And we deployed in a nice straight line all along the creek here, back behind it, and with skirmishers in front to make it so that we could give them a super hot greeting when they came through that first row of buildings. And predictably, they crumbled and ran back out of the town. We started setting up our semicircle of fortresses and what will later be horsey forts. We're drawing units to set up this position from Purchase Second Corps, and as you can see, more troops than we'll ever need to do that with. So we're gonna, in the next episode, we'll start to extend past Ligny and kind of around and up in here is where we'll start to terminate it. This is all cavalry right here, and we'll keep that here because we will use that to counterattack when some of the reinforcements come up. Then the cavalry tries to move through here. We'll counterattack them, and we'll set up a very strong defensive line from here, kind of through in here, just like that. And that'll be when all these reinforcements come up, when the French commit the Imperial Guard, and Ligny, which you can see is kind of isolated from everything else. And there's a wide open area in here. And rather than try and actually hold that line behind the whole town, instead it's easier just to set up a secondary line. And when Ligny gets outflanked, you can just pull units back all your units out of the town, back behind this line where they'll be safe. And that doesn't happen until much later anyway. And over here in the Tongrenelle area, it's just Hulot's division against an entire corps. We have a solid line set up here. We have units from back here, units here. This whole thing over here that we're not even going to use. And this is nothing but cavalry here. You can have literally a couple of squares over here, which I'm going to set up, and this cavalry can't do anything. Just 3 squares will stop them. So that's pretty much where we're at right now, guys. So battle has pretty much been engaged all along the frontier at Saint Armand, through Saint Armand, La Haye, and Wagnerly, at Ligny, and at the Tongrenelle area over here. So that's it for now, guys. And in the next episode, we'll cover 1730 through 1930 and really get into the heart of the battle here. So we went from just some initial French probing attacks here to now battle has flared up along the entire front of the Prussian forces here at Saint Armand, at Ligny, and at Tongres. So we will be back in a couple of days with the next 2 hours of the battle, guys. Take it easy.